Right,
Hi.
Anne, welcome. I must say that I mean I've been on YouTube for just over 3 years, and for some reason you were literally probably the first person I ever noticed.
Mm.
Um, One of the first things that really stuck in my head with you um, was you were talking about Philip Schofield. Now it wasn't all about the everyone get it was the attack in Philip Schofield. It was when he kind of come out and everyone was going, "Oh, how brave!" And you said something like, "That's not brave. Someone like Quentin Crisp is brave." And I've watched a lot of your stuff. I would like to talk to you about kind of online hate. Now I watch it. I get bad stuff. You get some horrendous stuff, um, and you deal with it very, very well. Not everyone can kind of be as kind of level-headed as you.
Oh,
How do Sorry, how do you actually deal with that
can
then
you
when
can
you get
can you just say, let's stop right there. Can you get rid of that? That person you don't want following you. Let's put this way. I'll tell you later what that person said you should do to children to open the third eye, and it should be arrested. Well, it has been
right,
arrested a few times. I wouldn't have that thing on your channel.
right,
Oh,
okay.
right. So yeah. So what was that again before he started?
So obviously, when you put yourself in the public eye, I've written 20 odd books,
Mm,
documentaries, whatever. And your channel is flourishing. You speak about all kinds of various different things. You know, in the greatest respect, you're kind of different to certain people. And I mean, I know personally you have been attacked by kind of people. How do you deal with it, and how do you easily shrug it off? And because was there ever
well,
a point it did get to you?
oh, sometimes it does get you, but if you look like in the chat, you'll see you've got people who come on in various names hating on me.
Mm,
Snidey little hates like Mary Kruger. That's another one. Your nightmare's okay and all that, but that's what you get. But these are people who don't like me because I outed or tried to out when I was with the Merseyside Police a couple of children being abused, and these people are known. I don't know about saying Mary, but no Papa, he is known. So so that's the trouble. And this is what I get all the time. Oh, Jockney's fine, Jockney's great. But you just learn to like what I'll do, I'll go in here now, and this is what advice anyone to do with that Mary Kruger one. And I'll just go in and block her from my side so I can never see what she's saying. Whenever
mm-hmm.
she comes on, or he, or Papa Hembo would advise no one to follow with the history that's got. You just block them, and then I can't see what they're saying. And if you can't see it, it doesn't hit you. And that really infuriates them because they come into the chat on other channels as well, loads of different ones, and they're giving out all these insults, and I'm not seeing them. So they're wasting the time. That's one way to deal with it. Sometimes you can't get away from it. You have to sort of face, especially when you're getting what I call a trolling campaign, where you've got channels coming at you. It's not just one person, you've got whole channels, which I've had in the past. That's not so easy to deal with. But I think what it is at my age, 58, and the life I've led, which I have started in the industry when I was very, very young, where you had to have the skin of a rhino, Jamie, because you'd be told as a child, I've said this before. I remember when I was doing my ballet training, and I was only about, what was it, 6, 7, something like that, very, very young. And one of the teachers turned around and said, "Oh, it's a good job that you're going to be on the stage, isn't it? Because you wouldn't want your face close up on camera." And you had to prove that. And I was always told how ugly I was compared to the rest of my family. And that sort of makes you that actually, it hurt as I was younger, but now that I'm that old, I don't give a damn now. You can call me looks, people do what they want. But online, it can get pretty vicious because you can get troll campaigns coming at you. But what I do is I just don't. Johnny Sparrow's another one. He can get a lot of hate thrown at him. And it's just a bit, I don't know, it's because of how old we are. We just deal with it our way. Or we're just, I don't know. I think anyone can do it. You just don't take any notes of them. It's, you get the mindset, it doesn't matter to me what you think. And this is what I say to people, even people that like me, when they turn around and they'll say things like, oh, Anne, you know, I thought you were better than that. My standard response is, well, I'm not better than that, am I? Because what they're doing, they're trying to control you. And I always also give this out to people, which people who have followed me for a long time understand. I say, look, never think I'm on a team, because I can say something nice about someone 1 minute, then say something absolutely horrible about them the next, because they've done something that I find really objectionable. And then I'll say something nice when they do something nice again. So I don't join teams. And people were difficult with that at first because they thought I was on a team, so they'd follow me. And they find out that I wasn't on any team. I react to a person to see them, what they're doing at that moment in front of me. So that could cause problems. But people now, as time's gone on and I've been on longer and longer, people know what my style is. And they know that if they like someone and I've said something nice about them, if they follow me, they could very well, if that person does something that I want to challenge them over, I will challenge them. No, that way. So that's how I do it. It's basically, it's it can, I say, I'm not saying that it doesn't get difficult. There was a couple of times, Jamie, when it was very difficult. There was a time, I won't name them because it can start, you know, digging up the past. There's no point going over the past. But there was one time when I was really attacked. But I had, and this is the thing, I had sniped at that person. You know, I'd given an insult out to them, so they gave me an insult back. But suddenly I had like teams of people on me. It wasn't just one person. I was on my own to defend myself. Then the second time, it wasn't warranted at all. It wasn't warranted at all. I'd done absolutely nothing. But again, I sat that out. And the thing is determination. No, I'm not going to let it get to me. But I'm talking a lot here, and I'll let you intercede. Jamie,
I have watched a lot of it, and what I like about you, it's always educational. You know, listen, you, like most Scousers, you take no crap. You know, I mean, I presume you are from Liverpool rather than the outskirts, and yous are the proper working class people. You know, very anti-Tory, anti-Sun. Although Michael Heseltine did do a lot for Liverpool, but you know, you watch your character, and nothing seems to phase you. I know, is that an age thing? Because there's people out there. I watch. I've had car crashes myself where it's all gone Pete Tong, and they don't deal with it very well. And do you think that's age, or do you just think that's kind of, you've always been mature?
I think what it is, I think a lot of it is, it's got to do with age as well, because I mean, I can see similarities in how Johnny Sparrow handles it when he gets it to how I handle it. So it must be because we're from a tougher age. Me and Johnny, we're of a time period, the 70s, we were growing up in, when things were much tougher, Jamie. They were much tougher than they are now. Everything seems to be, to our generation anyway, a lot easier. And things people complain about now, they seem nothings to us. But I think it's also the way I was brought up, because I was brought up, well, from the age of 5, the decision was made. I was going to study to be a ballet dancer. That was my career. I had no say in the matter. So I had to do that until I was 24. And I never once questioned my parents. And these were the days when you didn't question your parents. I never questioned them. Never even entered my mind to say whether I wanted to do it or not. I mean, I did love doing it, but it wasn't the thing I would have chosen to do first. And I'm thankful I did do it. But I just have, and I think for my mama, I inherited this. My mama was a great woman for things would go wrong and she just deal with them. But she was from the age, she was an army woman that had been in the British Army during the Second World War as well. And she could remember, you know, and it's easy for us to think back to the Second World War and think, oh, you know, in a film way. But when they were living through that, and especially as she used to say, the worst thing about the Second World War was they didn't know until after it had what the horrors that had been happening. They didn't know the horrors that had been happening to the full extent until after the war. Then they had the 50s, which was still rations, which was still difficult. Then the 60s, it started lightening up. So you had to be tough back then. There was no mollycoddling anyone. There was no, I've got mental health issues. People had mental health issues, but there was no help for it. You had to get on. You just had to get on. That was the end of it. You weren't now I think what it is that people now are told basically it's okay to be, or no, it's okay to feel like you should be getting things, getting help, getting this, getting that, getting the other. In the past, it wasn't like that. You had to get on yourself and do it, and you were expected to get on and do it, no matter what was going on in your life. Now, of course, people with mental health issues need help. They do need help. But at the same time, there is this trend, and has become a trend. I've got mental health issues. Everyone's got mental health issues to some degree. And they more or less then become the victim mindset. I've got mental health issues. And it's become like you've got to have that somewhere, especially a man, a boxer or someone has got to have now, I've got the mental health. So me and Johnny are saying we'll come from an age where we couldn't do that. That wasn't done. Actually, in those days, a man saying that he had mental health issues, oh, no, don't even go there. That was considered a terrible weakness. Terrible weakness. So I'm not saying that we should go back to those days. I'm just pointing out that that's what made people stronger. And so I've had things we all do. I mean, at 58 years old, I've had some things going wrong in my life which were horrendous. But, you know, I took my mama's view. You just get on with it. Because I tell you one thing, Jamie, and this is so true, and I worked this out for myself many, many years ago. We're always in the present time. And if anything horrible happens to us now, it looks like a disaster. It looks like horrific. It looks like you want to end it all or whatever. I can guarantee you something now. Within a year's time, it will be horrible to think about. Within 2 years' time, it will still be horrible to think about, but not as bad. Eventually, that will become a memory that you hardly ever think about. And that's where you approach it. Because it's horrible now doesn't mean that tomorrow's going to be horrific as well. It could but get much, much better. So that's the way I look on it. You just get through it. And as I say, I was expected to just do as I told, and also that meant I had to stand on my own feet as a very, very young child. I had to put up with being shouted at, yelled at by the ballet masters, which they love doing, then shouting and yelling at you. And they could hit you back then as well if they thought you were being really naughty. And you just got on with it. And I think that's why now it doesn't bother me. It bothers me if they say something that's insulting other people. I don't know, you know, because as you know, I'm intersex, that means hermaphrodite. And the whole reason I came out and said how I was born, because I told people for years I was gay. Make life easier, because you turn around and say, I'm intersex or hermaphrodite, they start looking upon you as a freak of nature. And I was seeing all these horror stories about children, intersex children, being euthanized at birth. And for years, which I know myself, when you're a baby, you have operations done on you to make you look normal down there, if that's where it's showing. And so I thought, right, what have I got to lose? I'm going to come out and say that I'm intersex. Shall I tell you now, Jamie? That's when I
What?
learned why my parents told me not to tell anyone. Because even to this day, the absolute hate I get for that is horrendous. And I can't understand why people can hate someone for the way they were born. It's out of my control.
Yeah. Can I ask you something? I mean, how bad has it ever been for you? 'Cause I I watch stuff and I get it daily and that and we know we've spoke before certain things and I mean the worst thing I ever was said to me, and I've been called some horrific things, but I was told by a millionaire to get back on my council house. But that was the thing that bugged me the most. But can I ask you, right? Have you ever just thought, I mean, your channel, you've got probably 25 or whatever. It's
22.
flourishing, right? It's a handful of ones I watch. You're one of them, and I see a lot what's going on. Has it ever got to the point? I mean, I don't know how long you've been on YouTube, but the last 3 years where you just thought, you know what? I'm not having this anymore. Life is better without this bull crap.
No, I've never let anyone win. And at a few times, as I say, it's looked like it's never going to end. And this is what I'll say to people out there: if any of you are getting bullied or you're involved in it, and don't forget with the first one that I got involved in was so bad, it was literally the whole of the internet on this side of the internet, and it looked like because there was a bigger, much bigger YouTuber than me involved, and it looked like it was never going to end. And it did end. And now you mention it, people say, oh, what's that? Or they don't even care anymore. You can make a video about it, no one care. Now at the moment, we've got another one that's going on. And I can tell you, that will blow over. Eventually that will go. Remember what I just said about we always live in the present, and that what's horrendous now will be a memory you'll be struggling to remember in the future what happened or think about it. It's exactly, that's proof of it. That looked like it's all happening around you then. It's impossible. You can't get over this. You can't get over this. But now, people don't even think about it, Jamie. They don't think about it. So that's how I think you can get over if you're struggling with things. Never think that it's going to last. It will be, but you only get that with time. As you get older, you realize that. You realize. So maybe it's an age thing that as you get older, you suddenly realize. Because I mean, there'll be people out there. There'll be people in the chat who are 40 odd years or are old. Can you remember now, or you every day remembering nasty things that happened to you 10 years ago? No, you forget them. They might pop into your brain, but they last a few seconds. And that's what I would say. Life is just a series of a second, a second, a second, a second. And you're in the present. You don't. I mean, the Buddha more or less said that, didn't he? He said, you don't think about what's going to come on this earth, or don't think what's going to come after. Just concentrate on actually now as it's happening. Don't think about it.
Well, you've always been like that kind of thing. Is that not just because I've only seen you for 3 years, but so you were like that when you were 30, 40 then?
Yeah. It's very, well, it was just like, what I'm called very, very business-minded. Very business-minded. I wouldn't, and I never needed anyone's, I never thrived on being popular with people either. That's another thing. I never thought, I have to be popular, because I'd have opinions or have views that were popular. Like you were just talking before about what's his name, the TV presenter. See, that's what I mean. I've forgotten his name now. And what was his name, Jamie? Philip Schofield. See if you've forgotten. What I was saying in that was that I knew when I saw it, I knew this is a cover up for something. This, I knew it's straight. I'm gay, and I want to tell you that I'm gay. For God's sake, it was 2022, wasn't it? I think.
It was a while ago. It was a while before the when he did get really bombarded.
Yeah.
It might have been. It was a good year before, or maybe even 18 months before that. And you did. I remember thinking. And I didn't really know. And you said it's not brave. I'll tell you what's brave. Quentin
Quite
Chris.
Chris. Yeah.
And I've known who he was, um, but when I sat and watched the documentary, purely because you brought him up, I just thought, wow,
Oh,
this
he was
guy
brave.
was, this was a crime up until 1967.
Mm,
Oscar Wilde, the greatest writer of all time, was put in prison.
yeah.
Hard labour in Pentonville. People were spitting in his face. Obviously, he
Mm,
got pardoned and many years later, but that is a real person who, could you imagine what it would have been like to actually
yeah.
do the things and wear the things he did in the 50s? It's
Yeah.
just incredible. And you are right, and he was highly intelligent as well. I don't know a great deal about him. Just,
Yeah.
I
Well, let's
mean,
put it this way, Jamie, right? For people who don't know in the chat, Quentin Chris wasn't just gay. In today's, if he was around now, he'd be called transgender. Because the hair and the way he dressed, you could tell he would have been transgender now. He would have wanted to be a female. And he said he wanted to be female. But the whole point of Schofield was, I'm sorry, within the 2020s, right? It's no long. Who in the hell goes, oh God, someone's gay? They don't. It's just not an issue now. It's not all right. You get haters, you'll get homophobes, you'll always get that, but it's not an issue. And he made such a dramatic thing about this. But what he forgot, or what they forgot, what he was saying, in fact, was that he'd lived a lie and covered this up. So he was ashamed of being gay. He was the one that was ashamed of being gay. And then also comes into the equation, which I said, what about his poor wife? She was just there as a shield to cover for him.
yeah.
And I hate that. I hate that. You'll hear like some trans people. That's why it has to things have to loosen up. I mean, not as it's going a bit far as it is now, but things need to loosen up, because there used to be men who were trans women, and they'd get married to try and either sort themselves out or for no one to realise, and it was a disaster. But then you've got some poor woman who's accused, and it's wrong. So I have no sympathy whatsoever for Phil Schofield, and I knew he was covering something up. This was a deflection because he'd been carrying on behind the scenes, and it was going to come out. So I had no sympathy from him. Oh, for God's sake, being gay, he made it sound like he was turning around and saying, I'm a pedo and I've been found out. It just wasn't necessarily the way he did it. And then we found out it was. So I've got no sympathy for him. Not one bit. And there's other things that I could go in about him that I can't stand him. I haven't been able to stand Philip Schofield for a while. So all these things going about what he's like as a person. And yeah.
So, I mean, the correct term, or the kind of slang name, is a beard. Of course, Oscar Wilde's wife was pretty much what you've just said. Lord Boothby, I was at his house the other week. He was, very much into young boys. And there's a lot. There has been so much of that, and it does. I can understand how it does get you back up. So, a couple of questions I want to ask you. What part of Liverpool were you from?
I was born in Granby Street, Toxteth, which is the real Liverpool. Liverpool AC, that's the real Liverpool.
Yeah.
It's not more Liverpool. I mean, if you want to say that you're a true 100% Scouser, I think you have to be Scotty Road. That's the real. It's like the Bow Bells of London.
Yeah.
Scotty Road. That's you get. It's lovely because you hear the R way. The people used to be Queen. Are you Queen? You're all right, Queen. When you hear Scousers saying Queen, not Babe or Girl, but Queen, you've got a real 100% Scouser, because only the real Scousers say Queen all the time, or the other one. So I was in Granby Street. Then when you said before, I live in Liverpool, not on the outskirts, I'm right on the outskirts. When we were 5, we moved to right on the outskirts. Literally, you cross over the road from me and you're not in Liverpool anymore. You're still in Merseyside, but you're not in Liverpool. But most of my training and everything was in Richmond, and I spent many a time in London. So most of my education and everything was down south. It wasn't in Liverpool. I had a bit of education here, But it's mainly down there.
Right. So a couple of questions. And obviously I'm not going to go into it, but I've got my last true crime book, members only, Michael Showers. He's taught me a lot about Liverpool. He's a very patriotic Scouser. I would you say, are you classed as that? Are you really? I mean, he is. I mean, obviously he's Liverpool fanatic football, but it's just like forget English or British or Jamaican. It's like his brother always the same.
No,
Are you like that?
No, I can't be asked with all that. It's all false. It's all false nonsense. We're the best in the world. No, we're not. You'll get nice people and horrible people everywhere. I can show you there's horrible people in Liverpool and there's nice people in Liverpool. There's horrible people in Manchester. There's nice people in Manchester. Let's put it this way. What I found, because I can class the difference, because I've been all over the place, all over the world. What I'd say about Liverpool is you'll always find someone to talk to. When you're waiting for a bus, you can just start a conversation. If you collapse in the street, someone will help you. Where in London, you don't have that. Somewhere like I always say London can be the loneliest place in the world if you don't have friends down there. Massively lonely. And people go, but again, the good side about London, which you don't get on Merseyside is still a dangerous place for some minority groups to be, like trans women or gays or whatever. It's not as safe as they like to paint out. It isn't. I certainly wouldn't go to certain places, and I certainly wouldn't go to certain pubs because you'd be asking for trouble. Whereas in London, I've always said this, you could walk around with a stuffed baboon on your head and a banana sticking out your backside, and people would just be as if you didn't exist. And I used to love that about London. They just mind their own business. They weren't interested in what you were doing or anyone else was doing. But if you walked out, you get elaborate. I remember Pete Burns.
Yes.
Pete Burns from Dead or Alive. I remember him. I mean, he wasn't a friend of mine, but I knew him on and off, met him on and off over the years. And when he started off, he was really flamboyant. If you think he was flamboyant when he was singing and all that, think again. He used to have these really mad creations, and he'd walk through town like that. And the absolute hassle and stick he got was horrendous. He went down to London. And he might get a few comments, but they didn't go on to him as much there. So there's good parts. So this somehow we're in another nation. No, we're not. And I think it's like the Yorkshire people. The Yorkshire people do the same. We're the greatest Yorkshire people. You can't get better. I've met some horrible Yorkshire people. They're not all nice, I can assure you. So I can't be asked with this up your arse. Yeah, we're a great city. I love this city. I'm proud to be a Scouser. I won't have anyone slag off my city because it's my city and I love it. I wouldn't be born anywhere else. I love the history of the city. I adore it. But there's other nice places as well that I've been to.
Can I ask you? So obviously the ballet, what level did you get to? I mean, like, was it a really serious thing? Was it like, what level?
I got first soloist, which is just one step down from a principal. But I didn't stay long enough to become a principal. So in other words, I could do the main dance parts, but I was never going to be the part of the prince, let's put it that way. So I did that and then gave up when my papa passed away. I thought it's time to give up now. Because you have to have that magic, Jamie. This thing about ballet, which I adore, it's my main passion, ballet. I love it. You have to have a certain magic that can't be trained. And it's extremely competitive. And you can be good at it technically, like I was. Very, very good technically. And it's hard work. I can't tell you how difficult it is. Thinking back as well, it's like, God, how did I manage to do that? Because for years, it's 100% commitment. You can't lapse off. You can't have holidays either. So you go through, but you've got to have that magic. And I can see that magic in students when I see them now. And I see a few Royal Ballet students or from other ballet schools, and I just know which one. And I say, they're going to get there. And they do. They always get there, which is, you can see, there's just this magic that takes over as if the ball. Evan's right. And it's not so much to go on about the body image yet. Say, if you want to go into classical ballet, you have to have roughly a certain body type to be able to perform it. But it can vary a bit. But if you haven't got that spark that just comes along, there's nothing greater. I said there's nothing, well, for me, because of course I love it as an art form. It's nothing better for me seeing a dancer that makes me sit there and just go. And I have to remember to clap because I'm not spellbound. I have to remember to do that.
I mean, I do not know anything about. I've watched it. The wife loves it. But are you talking kind of like Swan Lake? And is that really like? I mean, so questions. Do you have to be supremely fit? And the standing on the toes thing, the balance, and all this kind of thing. Talk to me.
Well, it's equivalent of being a gymnast, athlete, a top-rated athlete. So it's the same. You have to train for at least 5 days a week, especially with your company. Sometimes 6 days. Sometimes you'll be doing it 7 days. And that's why you have to start young, because you've got to get the body when it's supple, because you've got to mold your body. Because it's not natural. This is nothing that you have to say about ballet. It's a very unnatural way of moving. You're not designed to move with your legs turned out from the hips. But some genius, Italian genius, we don't know his name, worked out the 5 positions of the feet. They call it the 5 positions of the feet, but that's wrong. It's actually the 5 positions of the legs. And if you put your legs in those positions, in other words, with turn out, your legs turned right out, you can move in a 360-degree circle with no effort at all, and you can move any way you want. But as the art form progressed and you got to the classical stage, there was the romantic stage before the classical stage, and I'm honoured that I'm related to the people who, or the woman and a father who created the romantic ballet, and we wouldn't have ballet as it is now if she hadn't, and her father hadn't created this style of dance, and she changed all the way. The women became the focus, not the men. Before that, it was men with the big stars of the ballet. Then it went to Russia, and that's when you got classical ballet. That's when you get the ballerina and the ballet dancers. You imagine with the classical tutus, not the long tutus down to the ankles. You've got the classical sticking out pyramid tutus, they call them. You've got them. So, and that's when things got really, really demanding. And it's the classics that you trained really to perform. Because, of course, different styles of ballet. You've got dramatic ballet as well, like Romeo and Juliet, which is a different way of moving. And that's where it's difficult, because you've got to match that style to be able to dance those roles correctly and do those movements correctly. It's horrifically difficult. It takes years of training. And you've got to make what is something that looks, something that is really, really demanding and difficult to do. You've got to make it look easy. And the biggest compliment you can get as a dancer is someone say, "Oh, that looks easy. I could do that with a bit of training." The best compliment you can get, because you know you've made what is something that's horrendously difficult. I always said, no wonder when you hear people say, "Oh, I enjoy dancing." If you hear a ballet dancer saying, "Oh, I love dancing," yeah, you love dancing, but ask them, do you actually love it when you're doing it at that moment on the stage? No. It's when you stop and you get the applause, that's when you enjoy it, because it's just too much going on. But yeah, the end result is it's extremely difficult. Beauty is very, very difficult to achieve, and it's a high art as well. Acting isn't a high art. The only high arts are opera, classical music, and ballet. So that's how difficult it is. It's considered a high art, not just a normal art that anyone with talent can go into. You've got it all. But I don't want to put people off, but it is difficult if you want to put your child into it. It's extremely difficult.
What I want to ask you is, I see you often, probably daily on here, And as I said, you're very professional. You know how to speak to people. But away from this, what's your vice sense, or what does Ann Drogyne do? Obviously, maybe you're retired now. Do you kind of have a glass of wine? Do you have a cigarette? What do you like doing in life?
I don't drink. Oh, boring. I don't drink. I don't smoke. Don't have any vices. No vices at all. But I used to smoke. I did smoke for years, actually. And it was good for keeping the weight down when I was dancing as well, which was when you think of trying to keep fit and smoking. But no, my life is just very ordinary because people say, oh, why don't you write a book about your life? And to me, it's boring. Actually, all the exciting stuff, if you can call it exciting, bleeding horrible stuff, happened when it joined the Merseyside Police. That's when it got exciting. But to me, I couldn't say that. Look, right, first part of my life was going into a class, doing my morning class. As I got older, it ended up being a rehearsal, class rehearsal, performance, traveling the world, blah, 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 blah. That was it until I was 24. Boring. I didn't even get to see the vast majority of countries that I went to because it was in-house. It was that quick. And yeah, I've met a lot of famous people, but I'm not starry-eyed. I'm never starry-eyed. I never think, oh, wow. I don't think I've ever been starry. I've been impressed by people, but the people I really would have loved to meet, I never did get the chance to meet, which is a shame. But I've never been all, oh my, oh, look. I mean, I think
people you would have loved to have met then.
Oh God, Joan Crawford, Bessie Davis, all the greats like that. I would have loved him. I think if I'd met Bessie Davis and Joan Crawford, it would have been like starry-eyed then. But I would have loved to, but I was too young at the time to have met someone like Mark Bolan, someone like that. I would have loved to have met the Beatles. Never had that chance to meet them. So there's people I would have loved to have met, but I never got the chance or got close to them, because one I remember was I've always wanted to meet Linda Blair from The Exorcist, because I think that was such an amazing performance for a child to pull off. I mean, it was unique, and she's so level-headed, you can tell. And this young girl who personified evil on the screen turned out to be an earth angel. She works with, and she's got an animals charity. Had it for years, since she was very, very young. And she uses her fame in The Exorcist to get money for this dog's charity. She's a wonderful, loving, caring person, absolutely wonderful. And that's the irony of it. In real life, she's a gorgeous, young, compassionate person. She played evil so well in the film. I wanted to meet her. I never got to meet her, but I got to meet Mercedes McCambridge, who, for people who don't know, was the voice of the demon in the film. And that was a experience, I must say. She was a woman who had a personality you saw her could unnerve you a bit. She wasn't horrible or nasty.
So you've got a couple of questions. So there's one on the screen. Fire away, Anne.
Oh God, I've never had a holiday. Oh, the holiday. I'd say the only holiday really was when I was about 17, 18. We were taken to Japan on a tour, and Japan was just getting used to ballet then. Now they're totally fascinated by ballet. And we were invited for a tour there. And what they did, they actually paid for us to stay on. Now, I forget how long it was, either 4 days or 5 days we stayed on. And they paid for us to go on a little tour of Japan. Oh, it was wonderful. That's the only holiday I've ever had. I've never had a holiday. But I was always working, Jamie.
And there's another question now. There you go.
No, it wasn't unfriendly. It was that people just were too busy in their own thing that they wouldn't. It wasn't the same chassis thing. But let's put it this way: London gets a lot of bad press, and don't know whether Johnny will agree with me on this, because he goes down there. Look, I used to walk around Stockwell at night on my own, and I'd be absolutely terrified because there was no one there. Other parts of Brixton, right, I used to walk around. You know, reputation Brixton gets, I'd feel so safe because there was always people around. So I felt safer in London than I did in Liverpool. Even though I love Liverpool, I always felt safer in London. Strange enough, I wasn't scared
So
to be in attacked.
what is your plan then? So say in a weekend, you know, you've got your YouTube. Are you into your films then? Is that what you kind of? Is that your vice? You love to just sit and watch a film, and do you like?
I like films. I love reading. I do like reading a book. I'll go to see when there's a good ballet on by a good company. It has to be a good company before I'll go to see them. I'll go to that. I'll go to the cinema. I say to one of my neighbours, this pitch on to go to cinema. Just to warn you, right? Don't watch Exorcist Believer. It's a load of pants. Please don't bother watching it. It's terrible to sit through. So yeah, I'll do that. I prefer going to the cinema than actually watching on television. I love the old. This is my one as well. No, especially when it's getting to winter. It's getting dark and you can hear the wind and all that. Oh, I love putting on the old black and white horrors, you know, like The Bride of Frankenstein and Dracula and all that. Oh, I love them. Love them. You can't beat them, can you?
Do you know, I wanted to ask you. So this week, I mean, it's in a new book, which I've got a book, Nick Manners, and Jimmy Savile's in. So I finished watching The Reckoning yesterday. Now, I mean, I've been really wanting to ask you this. So have you watched all 4 parts?
I haven't watched it at all. And it's not because it just haven't got round to watching it. I mean, I think that you couldn't get better than Thingo Coogan doing it, because he is an absolutely brilliant actor. And I used to say this when people first said, you know, oh, he's a comedian. I said no. I said, I know he's a brilliant actor. He's brilliant. And so we will watch it because Steve Coogan, as I say, is fantastic. And I've seen clips of it, and exactly what I knew, he's pulled it off. You can tell he's pulled it off brilliantly. So we'll watch it. I think the distasteful thing is, and it's very distasteful that the BBC are props them from it. I don't like that. They were the ones that created Savile. They were the ones that maintained Savile, as long as the press. And I can assure you, he's not the only one, and there's still ones out there that they're covering up. I know that. That's a fact.
Do you know, I watched it, and it's like it's so annoying. It's like, how he definitely was enabled to the point where, you know, this new book, that, you know, he was a boxer, so he met him. So Nick was kind of on the streets in the 70s, and he remembers him coming, picking young girls up with change. They called him Mr. Bojangles. And then Nick was turned pro and used to see him at Round Day Calf. And then obviously he kind of used to speak to Nick, and you're a good looking guy. I bet you get some. And all the conversation would turn to seediness. And you know, when you're watching it, it's like, how did that happen? Do you know what I mean? Like,
easy, because no one gave a shit. That's you don't need to wait. Don't wake it out. No one gave a shit. The theatre, the entertainment industry is full of them. And I tell you now, so's the NSPCC got them there. So as they're everywhere. And this is it. And people say, you know, oh, how did it happen? Because no one gave a shit. Exactly, that's why, until they were made, until the press wanted something to report on and get news from, that's when. It's all money, it's all money. And I tell you now, Jamie, there's people still, the Savile's still there, I can tell you. And I, for one, I've still got the comment where I tried to tell them what I'd heard about a BBC radio station. Tried to let them, and I was threatened to keep my mouth shut. That's really? How seriously. Oh, yeah. I know, and I remember. I mean, I never saw it in the ballet. I never heard that things have been said in Scotland, but I never saw it going on where I was. But the first time I saw it was in the Oval Theatre in London, which is opposite the Oval Cricket pitch, and there was this American guy there. No one in from the theatre themselves. Let's stress that it was no one from the employed by the theatre. And this American producer was sitting at this table. We were all sitting there, and he was going on about how he used to invite these boys back, and if they got past this stage, that was it. He was having them. Past this corridor way, he was having them. And I could tell everyone just went. And that's the first time I became aware that something wasn't right. But I could see everyone was nervously giggling. And they weren't giggling because they thought it was funny. They were giggling because they thought it was really uncomfortable. But this is the point. People never spoke about it years ago, which they didn't. But it's not only that they didn't speak about it. I'm telling you, Jamie, people don't care. Even to this day, people don't care. The vast majority. They say they do, they don't. Because 99% of the time, you tell someone that says, oh, that's terrible, isn't it awful? It's horrendous, isn't it? Oh, wait a minute, I've just got to get home because the X Factor's on. That's what you'll get. I've seen that response. They're still covering it up. The police cover it up. The councils cover it up. I know the NSPCC covered it up. I know they all do. And that's why I just can't be bothered with this crap about when they come out saying, you know, oh, we're horrible. No, they're not. They're not. They don't find it horrifying at all.
I mean, I definitely would recommend watching it, Anne, and I would love your opinion on it. And I mean, Coogan is absolutely marvelous. All it, the young one in the 60s to the point where, you know, I was actually there a month ago at his flat. I met that guy from Big Brother Science, and you know, but it can never happen again. So your plans for the future then? Right.
Just want to pull you up something, Jamie. Just want to pull you up. Say, you know, when you say it can never happen again, what do you mean?
No, it has to be learned from. Surely people have to learn from it, and
no,
you know, because
they haven't, Jamie. This is what I've just been saying today. I can tell you now. There's more there. There's more. There's more. They haven't. It's the same thing which I've said time and time again. It's the iceberg effect. If it makes more sense to ignore it and cover it up, you'll find it eventually another one will break free that you hear about. But they cover it up because it's damage limitation. If they turn around places like the BBC and other organisations and said, oh, here we are, we've got this many that we know of that we've been told about, I tell you exactly what would happen. It would be absolute mayhem. But if just one, if they take the chance and think, oh, that one might not be found out about, and they keep that quiet, that's damage limitation. No one's learned anything. It's still going on. It's going to carry on. And in 10, 20 years' time, you're going to get a flux of adults coming forward saying, I was abused. You're all saying you were listening. You weren't. Look what's just happened with the latest one that's come out. And not a paedophile, but someone that was sexually adventurous. I won't mention his name.
Yeah.
That was ignored. They knew. So it's happening now. It's not that. And it will continue to happen. They're still coming up.
Can I just ask you, obviously not mention the name, but how serious do you think, how alarming is that whole situation?
It's very serious. Very serious. It's like people thought, see, I was around during the, the VIP, paedophile, VIP. I don't want to say the word because you can get in trouble saying it on YouTube. The VIPs in Parliament. And I was saying, be careful. You're being led down the road here. The press don't really care. And I tried to explain to him and said, right, the present excuse for not outing Jimmy Savile was that when he used to say, if we ousted him, the charities wouldn't get the money. He wouldn't give the charities the money. Loads of bull crap. Though I know journalists. I've known journalists all my life. I can tell you now, sociopaths, the vast majority of them, they couldn't give a toss if a child didn't get charity money or not, as long as they can get a good story out of it. They wouldn't give a damn. And so that was all. It's just that at that time, they thought we can get money out of it, was right. Suddenly, now you don't hear about it. And where's all these campaign groups that were against, fighting for children not to be abused and all this? They all crumbled and fell. Because they thought, this is the time we're being listened to. And they said, no, you're not. You're being let down at an alleyway here. and it all slammed down like that, which is exactly what I predicted, because it's only what will get that at the end of the time. These children who are being abused are only worth what that can be made from them. So it's still going on, and it's something you just have to say, well, when it's meant to. I mean, I've tried to speak out about what I know, tried, and it's just.
Well, what I was meaning is, so after that series, I listened to the his police interview, a police interview in 2009, and he's being questioned, and he's basically saying to these police officers, "Look, if this goes away, I'll forget about it. But you know, I know this, and I know, and the arrogance and it should have been like from now on, it should be like, I don't give a shit who you are. Do you know what I mean? I think, but it is when you think about he did that, it's literally staggering. So questions, just a couple of questions, because I've got another Jack the Ripper guy. Is where's your channel going on? Because I watch you every time you're on. I watch you. There's probably 5 or 6 I will watch religiously. You're one of them. Where's your channel going? What's your plan?
It's not a plan. I just go where I feel like it flows naturally. It's like it's in the funny bitching stage at the moment where I have little shows on, and I just have little bitching people, but it's all done light-hearted, nothing serious. I do a few serious ones where I think something serious needs out, but it goes where I feel it needs to go at that time. I try different things. If something doesn't work, it gets binned. I'll try a few times and it gets binned. If it works, I'll stick with it for a bit longer. But it always evolves. I never stick to one subject or anything. And so it's just whatever people are liking as well. I'll do. That's what I'll do.
But that's what I like about you is obviously you can take no shit, but you're never really that nasty. Do you know what I mean? There's like a little bit of class about you where I'm not going to mention them, but there's people and the bullying people and the ripping, tearing, attacking people's wives, and and it's like,
oh no, yeah, you don't do that.
Yeah,
you don't attack kids or anything like that.
Yeah. You're no fool, but you do it with a bit of, proper. And I think a lot of scousers do that. I spent a bit of time in Liverpool last year, and it was amazing. Like, I spent 5 days in Michael Showers. I've obviously been at Sean Atwood's thing here quite a lot, and I think with the scousers, you are really genuine. You're salt of the air, as working class as you find in Great Britain.
Jamie, there's a lot of unemployed people. You're talking about, I don't know what I think what is, you've got an image of what Liverpool is, but I can assure you there's plenty of unemployed people in Liverpool. There always has been. But it's the Scousers are, I say, I love being there. I love being, I say, a Scouser. Do love it, but I keep it real. It's like there's nasty sides of Liverpool, but there is everywhere. There is everywhere, isn't there? So you just have to keep it more or less real.
So anyone who wants to follow Ann's channel, I mean, as I said, I watch it mostly daily. I always catch 10 minutes. I'm going to put the link in the bio. I'm a huge fan of Ann. That's why I asked her on. Last question is on the screen, Ann. Do you know what? I've got bacon sandwiches on the side and the dog's eyeing them up.
Oh, you're bacon sandwiches. Oh, no. There might be a book, if I ever can be bothered, about what I laid at Mayside Police and the horrendous response I got and how it was blocked, and how the system blocks you. I might do that, but as about the life of me, no, because it will be too boring. It'll be a bore. It bores me to have thinking about my life. Surely, So, no, there won't be that happening. I'm Pauline Smith, right? Glad that you're watching me all the time to know that my channel's not going nowhere. Thanks for watching to check that I'm going nowhere. I love it when they do that.
Always a pleasure, Ann. And as I said, if anyone wants to follow Ann's channel, I'm going to put the link in the bio. Big love, mate. Yeah. I've got a sandwich, and then I've got to speak to a Jack the Ripper guy.
I'll be watching.
Take care. Thank you.
Jamie. Bye-bye now.
God
Bye.
bless.